The soft glow of Paloma's chandelier cast intricate shadows across the marble floor of the restaurant. Located in the heart of Los Angeles, it was one of those establishments where reservations were made months in advance, and the clientele often arrived in vehicles with tinted windows. Miguel Alvarez had been working as a server there for just over a year, and he had seen his fair share of celebrities, though the novelty never quite wore off. Tonight was particularly busy. 12 tables were filled with guests enjoying the chef's renowned Mediterranean cuisine. At table 7, partially secluded by an ornate partition of frosted glass and twisted metal that resembled olive branches, sat Tom Cruise. The actor was dining with 3 people who appeared to be business associates, judging by the stack of papers they occasionally referred to between courses. Table 7 needs another round, Sophia, the hostess, mentioned as she passed Miguel. Her voice carried a hint of excitement that she tried to mask with professionalism. On it, Miguel replied, straightening his black tie before approaching the table. Cruise greeted Miguel with that million-dollar smile that had graced countless movie posters. "Could we get another bottle of the Chateauneuf du Pape, please?" "Of course, sir. Right away." Miguel had served enough celebrities to know that they were just people. Some were kind, some were demanding, and others were somewhere in between. But there was something magical about Tom Cruise. Perhaps it was the way he made eye contact when he ordered, or how he seemed genuinely interested when Miguel described the special truffle risotto. Whatever it was, Miguel found himself wanting to impress the actor, to be remembered as the server who had provided impeccable service. The evening progressed smoothly. Cruise and his companions enjoyed their meal, laughing occasionally and speaking in hushed tones. They were the last to leave, exiting just after midnight. Miguel watched as they disappeared into a waiting black SUV, then turned his attention to clearing the table. He frowned when he saw the bill. Cruise had paid with a credit card, but the tip line was blank. $0. No tip. Miguel felt a wave of disappointment crash over him. After all the attentive service, the special attention, the extra bread basket he'd brought without being asked, nothing. Not a single cent. "Everything okay?" asked Sophia, noticing his expression. "Yeah," Miguel said, forcing a smile. "Just tired. Long night." But as he drove home to his small apartment in Echo Park, the feeling of disappointment turned to indignation. He had rent due in 3 days, and tips made up the majority of his income. The bill for Cruise's table had been over $800. A standard 20% tip would have been $160, enough to make a real difference in Miguel's tight budget. By the time he reached his apartment, Miguel had composed and deleted 3 social media posts in his head. But when he collapsed onto his couch and opened Twitter, his thumbs moved almost of their own accord. Just served Tom Cruise at Paloma. 3 hours, $800 plus bill. Didn't leave a cent for tip. Guess mission, impossible applies to getting paid fairly too. Hashtag no tip Cruise. He hesitated for just a moment before hitting tweet. Then he tossed his phone aside and headed for the shower, unaware of the storm he had just unleashed. Miguel's alarm blared at 9 a.m., far too early considering he hadn't fallen asleep until after 3 o'clock. He groaned, reaching for his phone to silence it, then froze when he saw the notifications. Hundreds of them. His Twitter post had been retweeted over 10,000 times. "What the hell?" he muttered, sitting up abruptly. His post about Tom Cruise had gone viral overnight. Entertainment news sites had already picked up the story. The hashtag #NoTipCruise was trending. Some people were expressing outrage at the actor, while others were attacking Miguel for publicly shaming a customer. Miguel's phone rang, a call from Sophia. "Have you seen what's happening?" she asked without preamble. "I just woke up to it," Miguel replied, his mouth suddenly dry. "It's insane. Mr. Castillo wants you to come in early for your shift. Like, now." Antonio Castillo was the owner of Paloma. A stern, impeccably dressed man in his 50s who ran the restaurant with military precision. Is he mad? Miguel asked, already knowing the answer. Just get here, Sophia said, then hung up. Miguel dressed quickly, his mind racing. Maybe he should delete the tweet? But it was too late, screenshots were already circulating. As he drove to the restaurant, talk radio was discussing the story. The host was saying something about how celebrities often acted entitled, while a caller defended Cruz, suggesting there must be more to the story. When Miguel arrived at Paloma, he was immediately ushered into Castillo's office. The owner sat behind his desk, looking grave. Standing beside him was Elise Wong, the restaurant's PR manager. Do you understand what you've done? Castillo asked, his voice quiet but sharp. I was upset, Miguel began. I provided excellent service, Anne. You violated our confidentiality policy, Elise interrupted. You publicly discussed a customer's personal business without permission. That's grounds for immediate termination. Miguel felt his heart sink. I didn't use his name in the tweet, he tried, knowing it was a weak defense. You tagged it with a hashtag using his name, Castillo pointed out. And besides, everyone knows who you were talking about. The phone hasn't stopped ringing all morning, Elise added. Reporters want a statement. Regular customers are calling to ask if it's true. Do you have any idea how this affects our reputation? Miguel stared at the floor. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. Clearly, Castillo sighed. We need to discuss your future with Paloma, but first, there's something you should know. He slid a piece of paper across the desk. It was a credit card receipt, Cruz's from the previous night. The total was not just for his table, but appeared to cover the entire restaurant. What is this? Miguel asked, confused. Mr. Cruz paid for every table in the restaurant last night, Elise explained. All 12 of them. The total came to just over $11,000. And he specifically asked us to keep it quiet, he didn't want the other diners to know he had covered their meals. Miguel felt the blood drain from his face. But he didn't leave a tip. He left a separate cash tip for the staff to share, Castillo said. $10,000. It's in the safe. Your share would have been about $1,200. Would have been? Miguel echoed. In light of your social media post and the resulting damage to both Mr. Cruz's reputation and our restaurants, I'm afraid we have to let you go, effective immediately, Castillo said, his expression somber. Miguel felt dizzy. Mr. Castillo, please. I made a mistake. I'll delete the post, I'll publicly apologize. It's too late for that, Elise said. The story is everywhere. TMZ is running it as their lead. The damage is done. But I need this job, Miguel pleaded. I have rent due, student loans. You should have thought about that before you decided to publicly shame one of our most generous customers, Castillo replied firmly. Clean out your locker and return your uniform. Sophia will provide your final paycheck, minus your portion of the tip you would have received. As if in a trance, Miguel stood and walked out of the office. The restaurant was quiet, hours yet before it would open for lunch service. He made his way to the staff locker room, feeling the weight of his mistake crushing down on him. His phone buzzed again, another notification. A gossip site had published his name and found his Instagram account. The comments were pouring in, many of them angry and accusatory. His mistake wasn't just costing him his job, it was quickly turning into a public relations nightmare for himself as well. By mid-afternoon, Miguel had deleted all his social media accounts, but the damage was irreparable. His name was associated with the story now, and a quick Google search brought up dozens of articles. Some painted him as an entitled millennial who expected excessive tips, while others used him as an example of social media's dangers. Few were sympathetic. He sat in his apartment, blinds drawn, ignoring calls from friends and family who had seen the news. How had this happened? One impulsive tweet had destroyed his reputation and cost him his job at one of the city's most prestigious restaurants. No other high-end establishment would hire him now, he'd be recognized immediately. His phone rang again, an unknown number. After letting it go to voicemail, he listened to the message. "Hello, Mr. Alvarez. This is Sarah Davidson from the Los Angeles Times. I'd like to get your side of the story regarding the incident with Tom Cruise at Paloma. Please call me back at..." Miguel deleted the message. Another call came in almost immediately, a different reporter. He turned off his phone. Meanwhile, across town, Tom Cruise sat in his agent's office, looking at the headlines on a tablet. "This is ridiculous," his agent, Richard Weston, said. "You paid for the entire restaurant, left a massive tip, and now you're being portrayed as some kind of cheapskate. We need to issue a statement." Cruise shook his head. "No. That defeats the whole purpose. I didn't do it for publicity. But your reputation will survive," Cruise finished. "It always does. The truth has a way of coming out." Richard wasn't convinced. "At least let me contact the restaurant, get them to make a statement." "Fine," Cruise conceded. "But keep my name out of it. Just say there was a misunderstanding." As they were speaking, Elise Wong was already drafting a statement for Paloma. Regarding the recent social media post by a former employee about a customer's tipping practices, the post contained inaccurate information and was made in violation of our confidentiality policies. The employee in question is no longer with Paloma. We deeply value all our customers and respect their privacy. We will not be commenting further on this matter. The statement was deliberately vague, avoiding mentioning Cruise by name and neither confirming nor denying the specifics of what had occurred. It was the kind of corporate non-statement that raised more questions than it answered. By evening, several regular customers of Paloma had come forward to news outlets, revealing that their bills had been unexpectedly paid for on the night in question. Their testimonials began to shift the narrative. "We were celebrating our anniversary," one woman told Entertainment Tonight. "When we asked for the check, our server told us it had been taken care of. They wouldn't say who had paid it, just that an anonymous patron had covered all the tables that night. We had no idea it was Tom Cruise." Other diners shared similar stories, and speculation began to grow that Miguel's account wasn't accurate. The hashtag #ThankYouTom started trending, pushing #NoTipCruise down the list. The next morning, Miguel ventured out to buy groceries, keeping his head down and hoping not to be recognized. As he was paying, the cashier gave him a strange look. "Hey, aren't you the guy who..." "No," Miguel said quickly, grabbing his bags and hurrying out. When he returned home, he found a letter that had been slipped under his door. It was from his landlord, expressing concerns about the recent publicity, and reminding him that the building's lease agreement included a clause about maintaining the peaceful and respectable atmosphere of the community. It wasn't an eviction notice, not yet, but the implication was clear. Miguel sat on his couch, head in his hands. How had his life unraveled so completely in just 36 hours? His landline rang, he'd forgotten he even had one. Few people had the number. "Hello?" he answered cautiously. "Mr. Alvarez? This is Patricia Whitmore from Cruise Productions." Miguel's heart raced. "Yes? Mr. Cruise would like to speak with you. Would you be available to meet tomorrow morning?" The address Patricia had given Miguel was for a small, unassuming coffee shop in Silver Lake, far from the upscale restaurants and trendy hotspots where celebrities were typically spotted. As he pushed open the door at precisely 9 a.m., he spotted Tom Cruise immediately, sitting alone at a corner table, wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans, a baseball cap pulled low over his face. Miguel approached, his palms sweaty. Cruise looked up and gave him a small smile, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. "Mr. Alvarez. Thank you for coming." I should be thanking you for agreeing to meet me," Miguel stammered, sliding into the seat. I want to apologize for. Cruz held up a hand. Before you say anything else, I want you to understand something. I didn't ask you here for an apology. Miguel blinked in surprise. You didn't? No. I asked you here because I wanted to understand why you did what you did. A barista approached, and Cruz ordered 2 coffees before turning his attention back to Miguel. So tell me, he said, his expression genuinely interested, what made you post that tweet? Miguel took a deep breath. I was tired, frustrated. I have student loans, rent due, tips are how I make most of my money. When I thought you hadn't left anything after I'd provided what I thought was excellent service, I just snapped. Cruz nodded thoughtfully. I understand that. But why go public? Why not just complain to friends or family? I don't know, Miguel admitted. It was impulsive. I've never done anything like that before. By the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. Their coffees arrived, and Miguel wrapped his hands around the warm mug, drawing comfort from it. I've been in the public eye for over 30 years, Cruz said after taking a sip. One thing I've learned is that reputation is both incredibly valuable and incredibly fragile. A single mistake can undo years of goodwill. I'm learning that now, Miguel said ruefully. The difference is, I have a team of people who help manage my public image. Resources most people don't have. Mr. Cruz, I am truly sorry. I had no idea you'd paid for everyone's meal or left such a generous tip. I jumped to conclusions. Cruz's expression softened. We all make mistakes, Mr. Alvarez. The question is what we do afterward. Have you issued a public correction? Miguel shook his head. I deleted all my social media accounts. The backlash was intense. I can imagine, Cruz said. But running away doesn't solve anything. It just leaves others to control the narrative. What do you suggest? Miguel asked. Own your mistake. Apologize publicly. Then move forward. No one will hire me now, Miguel said. My name is toxic in the restaurant industry. Cruz took another sip of his coffee. Maybe not in the restaurant industry, but there are other options. Miguel looked at him questioningly. Patricia mentioned you have a degree in communications? Yes, from UCLA. But I couldn't find work in my field after graduation. Would you be interested in learning about crisis management from the other side? Cruz asked. I have some connections at a PR firm that specializes in reputation repair. They might be willing to take you on as an intern. Low pay initially, but good experience. Miguel stared at him in disbelief. You would do that? After what I did? Sometimes the people who make mistakes are the ones who learn the most from them, Cruz replied. Besides, I believe in second chances. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, Cruz said, sliding a business card across the table. And that you'll make this right. Miguel picked up the card, turning it over in his hands. Why are you helping me? Cruz's expression became serious. Because 30 years ago, someone gave me a second chance when I made a mistake. I never forgot that. Sometimes people just need an opportunity to show who they really are. 2 days later, Miguel sat in the offices of Horizon PR, one of Los Angeles's premier reputation management firms. Across from him sat Diane Mercer, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who had built her career helping celebrities and corporations navigate public relations disasters. So, she said, looking at him over the rim of her glasses, Tom Cruise sent you. Yes, Miguel replied, still not quite believing it himself. He said you made a mistake that went viral and now you need help fixing it. That's right. Diane leaned back in her chair. Before we discuss any potential position here, I need to know exactly what happened, from your perspective. And I need complete honesty. Miguel recounted the entire story, leaving nothing out, his frustration, his impulsive tweet, the fallout, and his meeting with Cruz. When he finished, Diane nodded slowly. Well, you certainly created a textbook PR crisis. But the question is, do you understand why what you did was wrong beyond just the personal consequences to you? Miguel thought for a moment. I violated someone's privacy. I made assumptions without having all the facts. I used social media as a weapon rather than a tool. And I didn't consider the broader implications of my actions on others, not just Mr. Cruz, but the restaurant, my colleagues, even the other diners who might have felt their special evening was somehow tainted by the controversy. A hint of approval flickered across Diane's face. Good. That's a start. Now, if you were advising yourself, what would you suggest doing next? A public apology, Miguel said without hesitation. Complete and unequivocal. But I'd need to be careful about how I do it, to make sure it doesn't seem like I'm just trying to capitalize on the situation or get more attention. Precisely, Diane said. And that's where we come in. Cruz asked us to help you craft that statement, and to consider you for our diversity internship program afterward, assuming your apology is well received and you demonstrate the qualities we're looking for. I'm grateful for the opportunity, Miguel said. Don't be grateful yet, Diane warned. This internship is demanding. 60-hour weeks, grunt work, low pay. But you'll learn more in 6 months here than in 4 years of communications classes. I'm ready for that, Miguel assured her. I want to make this right. Over the next few hours, Miguel worked with Diane and her team to craft a thoughtful apology. They decided that a video would be more effective than a written statement, allowing people to see his sincerity. The video was simple: Miguel, seated in a plain room, looking directly at the camera. My name is Miguel Alvarez, he began. Last week, I posted a tweet claiming that Tom Cruise had refused to leave a tip at the restaurant where I worked. That statement was false, and I want to set the record straight. What I didn't know when I posted that tweet was that Mr. Cruz had actually paid for every table in the restaurant that night, a bill totaling over $11,000, and had additionally left a $10,000 cash tip for the staff. He had asked that his generosity be kept private, not wanting recognition for his actions. My false accusation, made in a moment of ignorance and frustration, went viral and caused damage to Mr. Cruz's reputation, to the restaurant, and ultimately to myself. I was terminated from my position, as I had violated the restaurant's confidentiality policy and misrepresented what actually occurred. I want to apologize publicly to Mr. Cruz for my unfair characterization of his actions. I also want to apologize to my former employer and colleagues for the disruption and embarrassment I caused. This experience has taught me a painful but important lesson about the power of social media and the responsibility that comes with using it. Words have consequences, especially when they're broadcast to the world. I'm sharing this not to ask for sympathy or forgiveness, but because I believe it's important to correct a falsehood that I helped spread. Thank you for your time. The video was posted to a new Twitter account Miguel created specifically for this purpose. Within hours, it had been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. Major entertainment news outlets picked up the story, many praising Miguel's honesty and Cruz's generosity. The narrative shifted. What had begun as a story about a celebrity allegedly stiffing a server turned into a story about grace, forgiveness, and second chances. #TomCruiseClass began trending, with people sharing stories of other unpublicized acts of kindness by the actor. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.